important thing that has always been talked about is how to develop grassroots talent and having some of the talented footballers, nurture their talent, develop their talent. And Safaricom has been at the forefront with that through the CHAPA DIMBA tournament. So tell us more about this CHAPA DIMBA tournament.
So CHAPA DIMBA tournament is a national grassroots football tournament with Football Kenya Federation. Yeah, so it was launched in the year 2017 with an aim of identifying talents of girls and boys within the age group of 16 to 20, and to identify the talents and also to enable them earn from it. So we have had a number of players come from this and their lives transformed in a big way. Yes.
Yeah. I remember seeing a number of players, one of them being Benson Omala, who we actually interviewed.
Yeah.
And, he's a player who's so prolific. He's actually the top scorer in the FKF Premier League. And, without the support, he wouldn't have actually made it this far, because you look at where he's come from high school. That is where, the company came in and started supporting him fully. And it is through that specific initiative that he made it to join Gor Mahia. And he's soaring high. Right now, he's in Mauritius, helping Harambee Stars to register good results.
That's right. Benson Omala is one of those players that we've been able to identify through the CHAPA DIMBA series last edition. And right now, amazingly, he's one of the top scorers with Gor Mahia. And among them, just to mention but a few, Jerry, who is right now in a club in Tanzania, and so many. So in a way, their lives have been transformed in a big way. And we're looking into doing that again this edition. I must say that it's been amazing. It's a journey. We started off last month, and it's going to take place through to next year, January. Yeah.
All right. And what has been the impact of CHAPA DIMBA tournament since its inception?
So we've been able to, as Safaricom, we've been able to identify some of these talents as young as from the age of 16 to 20. And the impact has been massive, has been huge, because they have been able to demonstrate their talent through CHAPA DIMBA in a big way, right? And you see the stages, when we have the stages where we start off and then there are winners and stuff like that. So this is quite different, because in the previous edition, we had winners winning 10 million. Right now, it's doubled, it's 20 million, all right? And it's quite totally different. So it's different in a big way, because people's lives are going to be changed. As we start from a grassroots level, we call it mashinani. We will have sub-counties, and then county level, and then, there are like 5 stages. Then we have regional, inter-regional, and then now finals. And at the mashinani level, we intend to do a lot of things. This time, things are quite different, because we are having, we call them TVET colleges that we have partnered with through Safaricom and M-Pesa Foundation. And we're looking at about 150 a scholarship that we're going to sponsor. That is educational sponsorship that we're going to sponsor, and a lot of people are going to benefit from this. Other than that, we have boot camps, medical stationaries that we'll be having in the 8 regions that we'll be going. And so far by large, a lot of people's lives are going to be touched, and we're going to have a lot of interaction in terms of customers, the people, the spectators getting to know who we are as Safaricom. Yes. Absolutely.
And I can tell you for sure, this is such a big tournament, because I hear the youth talking about the tournament when it's about to begin. I see them going to the field and, preparing so much to take part in this tournament, because they're looking forward to the incentives. They're looking forward to winning some of the packages that you've mentioned, and also looking forward to making a livelihood through the great initiative that is through the CHAPA DIMBA.
Yeah, sure.
So the question then again is, why is Safaricom keen on sports in the country? How does this tie it, to the purpose of transforming lives?
All right. So you realize that we're very enthusiastic about sports in the country. And this is not just one, I would say, one sport that we're looking at. We've had a number of sports that we have been sponsoring as a company. And you remember last year we came out full board sponsoring a golf tournament, a series that saw 14 clubs participate, and we moved to those regions. Yeah? So we are big in many ways. So this coming weekend, or rather from 22nd and 20 to 24th, we will be having the Safari Rally, sponsoring that. We have the Lewa Marathon, that is just the corner, and we invite everyone to participate. And back to your question, you see, while we do this, we realize that there are talents out there that have not been tapped. All right, and so in a way, we invite these people, this particular group of people, to join, and they can have the experience that they might have wanted to have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you've actually mentioned some of the big sporting events that you've sponsored. One of them was the golf tournament, and just having the junior golf clinics, seeing very young kids taking part in golf and learning about golf. It's very encouraging, because these are the kids who are going to become the future golfers, professional golfers in Kenya, and raise the Kenyan flag high.
Absolutely.
In international competitions. Another one, you've talked about Safari Rally, which is previously we just saw them unveiling their team. You've talked about Safari Rally beginning next weekend. And it's also big because Safari Rally is an international event, and having sponsors coming in and supporting that main event, I think it is a good initiative. Also, Lewa Marathon is going to be next weekend also.
It's going to be next weekend.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. We're just telling guys to come and participate. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, how does investing in grassroots football contribute to the overall uplifting of the community?
Okay, so at Safaricom, we have a vision, and our vision is to be a purpose-led tech by the year 2025. And so during these events, we intend to showcase some of the stuff we do, and we want the people to interact with some of and have the experience with the technology on the grassroots level. And besides that, we have a lot of things lined up during this event. As I mentioned before, we will be having a medical camp where we encourage people to walk into the tents. We probably could be having an issue, a health issue or stuff like that. And we encourage you to check into some of these boot camps. And other than that, we also have a lot of stuff to be won during this time. And most importantly is for the people to interact with us at a grassroots level. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So we're just getting into season 4 of the CHAPA DIMBA tournament, and it's going to be bigger and better as promised by the organizers of the event. So what makes it different from the other editions of CHAPA DIMBA?
So this is quite unique, it's quite different, because here we have categories. Okay, like I mentioned before, we have 5 categories. And by the way, this particular series, we are going to visit 8 regions. And when I talk of 8 regions, I'm talking about Nairobi, Nyanza, Rift Valley, Coast, Eastern, among others, right? So it is different because we have categories. And when I say categories, we start from mashinani level, that is grassroots level, where we go to sub-county and we identify teams from there. These teams will compete. Then we identify winners who will then move to a county level. Then they will compete at that level and then move to inter-regionals and then regional. And then finally, we'll have the winner represent that particular region to a national level. That's one. Number 2, in terms of sponsorship, we are spending 400 million shillings on this from the beginning to the end, which will be, the end will be next year. And the winners will be getting 20 million Kenya shillings. And this time we have separated. We have a category where the best disciplined team will have the opportunity to receive 100,000 Kenya shillings. And then we have categories for girls who play, say the best goalkeeper, best girl in this and that, getting 50,000 shillings. And I think that is amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because many times the conversation about Kenyan football has been the lack of funds. And when you hear the figures being put across, it is enough to give anyone the motivation and the encouragement to take part in football, because now it is an entity that pays well through such initiatives. Now, what is the progress so far in as far as registration is concerned? Do you have teams that have already confirmed their participation, and how far have you gone with the registration process?
So the registration process is ongoing, and I'd like to encourage those who are interested to just check onto our website, that is chapadimba.safaricom.co.ke. We are also available. You can do it manually, the application, you can do it manually, and find this at our shops across the country. One thing, however, that I must reiterate is that registration is not an individual thing. You have to be a team, okay? You have to be a team for you to register. So you just walk into any of our outlets, shops in the country, and you fill the form, okay? In terms of registration for Western, that already ended on the 2nd of June. And so we are now going to start playing from the 24th of this month. As I mentioned before, we are starting from the grassroots level. Yeah, we still encourage people to continue, and it's amazing at the turnout in terms of registration. You know, previously in the last edition we had about 180 teams registered. This time we've I think we've doubled, and it's 441. So you see, it's like people really love soccer, and if you look at the last edition, if you look at the data in terms of the guys, the teams that registered, we realized that most of the guys that were attracted to this were female. The more reason why we're looking into those clubs that are female-oriented to join.
Absolutely, yes. And it is also a good initiative of encouraging women football and supporting the girl child in sports as well. So such a plausible deal. Now, I know you've already mentioned about some of the locations that you're having the tournament taking place, but just for the case of the person who might have missed that point, where would we be having the kickoffs and the games? In which specific locations in the country are we going to have the tournament staged?
So, like from the 24th, we will be in Western Nyanza. Yeah. Western Nyanza is Busia, Vihiga, Bungoma, those sides. Yeah. Like I mentioned before, the registration is already ended. So from there, we move to Nyanza, okay? But we are going straight to the ground on the 24th. We'll be on ground in Western.
All right. Yeah. And how are the organizers of this event going to make sure, because the main objective of the CHAPA DIMBA tournament is tapping talent, nurturing and then developing talent. So how are you going to make sure that no talent is left untapped and everyone is given the opportunity of showcasing their talent?
Okay, like I mentioned before, you know, we are partnering and collaborating with the Football Kenya Federation, and they are giving us scouts who are going to give us technical support to identify these talents. And these talents, we're tapping them right from the grassroots level, all right? And so then they will be able to showcase their talents. And if they don't make it to the level where we're headed, then somebody somewhere will at least notice them, identify them for our local clubs. I don't know whether I answered your question correctly.
Absolutely, absolutely, because we're trying to look at everyone getting the opportunity. Many times, especially previously, we had players complaining that we had this good initiative being hosted in the country, but there was a lot of corruption involved, and that is what we're trying to eliminate in these current times, to make not really CHAPA DIMBA, but other tournaments organized, trying to have these tournaments of identifying talent. So that is the reason as to why I asked, how is it that we're going to have the organizers of the tournament making sure that no talent is left untapped? And you've answered it correctly. Partnering with FKF would ensure that you have scouts who are going to show you the right steps,
exactly.
and the right steps to follow.
Yeah.
Now, having the scouting of players involved, how would this be conducted, and why is the scouting important? I know you've talked about FKF having scouts, but what is the importance of having the scouts joining the organizers of CHAPA DIMBA?
Okay, it's important because they're giving us guidelines, yeah, into, like I mentioned, they're going to give us guidelines into the tournament, what their expectations, and whenever there is anything or any changes, then they can always advise as per the FIFA rules. Yeah.
All right, and finally, probably the final question: how does CHAPA DIMBA boost community engagement?
I think I mentioned that before, yeah. And I said, like, when it comes to community engagement, remember, we intend to go to the grassroots and have this event right from the grassroots, okay? So what happens is that we intend to showcase our staff as Safaricom. Like I mentioned to you before, that as Safaricom, we have a vision, and that vision is to be a purpose-led tech company by the year 2025. And now we want to bring on board people on ground to experience some of our technology on ground. And we will have a lot of things happening on ground. Like I mentioned to you, that we have Safaricom together with M-Pesa Africa sponsoring the TVET, okay? Sponsoring scholarship of about 150 guys to TVET College. And this is going to impact the lives of these people on ground. And also besides that, we have border riders and a lot of things and fun that will be taking place during that time. Yeah. Absolutely.
That is such a plausible deed coming from the organizers of the CHAPA DIMBA tournament, which is set to begin in the country, giving an opportunity to talented footballers in the grassroots all across the country the opportunity to showcase their talent. Now, once they identify that talent, they will be giving you the room of nurturing the talent and developing it to make sure that they have this feeding program. So if you're impressive enough, and if you're a footballer who's gone to the CHAPA DIMBA tournament and you're impressive, rest assured you're going to find your way into one of the big clubs in the country, and probably the national football team in the country. Well, allow me to say many thanks to you, Alisa Witi, and the amazing initiative that you're having of unlocking sports talent in the country. And to the sportsmen back at home, feel free to register. Unfortunately, the registration is complete, right? Well, for those who have not completed their registration, maybe they should go for the next edition of the CHAPA DIMBA tournament.
No, the registration is ongoing.
It's still ongoing.
It's ongoing, but only except for the Western, which ended on the 2nd of June.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So that is about it. A plausible lead coming from the organizers of the CHAPA DIMBA tournament. Now, on that note, we'll do a short break, but don't go too far. We'll be right back with the latest sporting events that took shape across the weekend, and also we'll be telling you what to expect throughout the week. So stay tuned for more of that.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.